If you're about to list your home, one of the questions you should ask is, should I talk to an appraiser before listing? That's what we're going to be talking about in this video.
Reggie the Realtor, Reggie the Realtor, Reggie does real estate. Reggie the Realtor, Reggie the Realtor, for buyers and sellers, he's great.
So Greg, tell me about the advantages of doing an appraisal, or are there advantages of doing the appraisal before you list the property?
One advantage would be I'm working for you. You're my client, right? I mean, certainly if I'm doing an appraisal for a lender for a purchase,
Right.
I'm appraising the home the same way. We're trying to determine market value. So I don't appraise it differently if I'm doing it for you.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm doing a divorce case, I often have one party appraise it high, the other appraise it low. I tell them, look, I can only appraise it for market value.
Exactly.
If I'm doing your appraisal for listing purposes, I want to give you the best advantage in the market. I don't want you to leave money on the table, but I want you and your agent to be able to be competitive in the market. And so if I give you a high value and a higher value than I think the home is worth, you're excited, you pay me, that's great. And all I'm doing is giving you false hope.
Right.
And I'm putting it's a disadvantage for you and for your realtor. And the last thing we want is for a home to become stale in the market. Because we've discussed in the past, or you and I discuss all the time, really within the first 2 weeks, we'll know whether a home is overpriced or not.
Yeah. Because you should be getting offers in the first 2 weeks if it's priced well.
You should.
Yeah.
And so
especially in this market.
That's right. And we're focusing a lot on our local market right now, which is very hot, has been all year. Within a few weeks, you should know what your home is worth. So when we're doing the market value in advance, we're not just looking at what is sold, we're looking at what is active on the market right now.
Yes.
I go to the extent, and most of my colleagues do the same thing. We call other agents who have actives or pendings properties in the neighborhood. So a home that is under contract and about to close, that is real-time information.
Right.
So we can look at, we always talk about an appraiser, we're looking in the rear view mirror. We're looking at what has occurred in the past to support the value today, especially for the lender or for any appraisal we do. It can't just be Greg Lane says it's worth this. It has to be I support it with this data.
Right.
But the best data is what's happening as we speak. So I will bird dog, as I call it, go out early and get as much information as I can about what's going on right now, as well as what's happened in the past, try to merge those two together. Because if the values are going up, as an appraiser, you've got to stay on top of that.
Right.
Of course, the opposite happened in the past, which we'll never see again, hopefully.
2009.
Yeah. So everything was going down, so you had declining values. You had to stay on top of what was actually listed for sale.
Right.
But we do a lot of appraisals in advance. That is a confidential appraisal.
Right.
We are...
And that's something that a lot of people don't understand. You do not have to share the appraisal, but it sometimes helps us. It would help your realtor. And an example, we've got it listed at 210. We got a house at 210. It's appraised at 200.
Right.
But sellers always want to put it a little higher, so there's negotiation. And let's say that we get a 190 offer. One of the advantages of having it appraised before you put it on the market is we already know what's going to appraise. And so it would help us in the negotiation where I can go back to the buyer's agent and say, this house did appraise and we have an appraisal for
Right.
200.
So we hope that we've done a thorough appraisal and it's well supported so that in a case like that, they're not just looking at a number on paper, that they can see the data we used often are some of the same homes they looked at. There's nothing better than when the buyer calls me and says, oh, it's interesting, I was looking through your appraisal because the seller let us look at it. Of course, the appraisal is confidential until the seller lets somebody else see it.
Right.
Because that's our client. I won't share it with anybody. But let's say the seller does, and that $200,000 appraisal is on the table. They look through it and they see the active listings in the pending. Oh my gosh, those are 3 of the other homes we looked at. That is a clue to me that I've done a good job, meaning I'm trying to walk in a buyer's shoes.
Right.
But until then, that appraisal is confidential and belongs to the seller.
That's it.
But yeah, it can help you leverage up, and we've had it many times where we had the offer 190, your list price was 210, and appraisal was at 200, which really is a range anyways. We're trying to get as close as we can. And they negotiate up, and now maybe they write an offer at 198. And now we're within $2,000 of appraisal. And I mean, that's about as close as anybody's going to get.
Right. And the sell to list price is like 97%, 97.4% in the MLS.
Exactly. And that's if someone usually list with the realtor. Obviously, if it's an MLS, it's with the realtor. And well over 90% of our sales in Leon County have a realtor on at least one side.
Oh, yeah.
And they list it competitively to start. That's
Yeah.
so much the key, as we've discussed.
That's right. And one of the advantages of listing with a realtor.
Absolutely.
Well, there's so many things to talk about. We've got to do this again, and
This is great.
I love
love
talking with you, and always feel like it's such an advantage for realtors who do have an appraiser that they can talk to and they can trust.
It's important for us, too, to stay in touch and to understand what you all are dealing with on the front line selling real estate.
Right.
So we really appreciate your time.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.